Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Sharon tells Nick about Noah's two problems. While Noah Newman's double problem raises concerns, Sharon Newman will confess to Nick Newman. Sharon will worry about her terrible circumstances when she is in the hospital in Los Angeles. Sharon is currently split between her children because Noah is in an induced coma and Mariah Copeland is upset at the Boston facility. Sharon wants to be physically present for Mariah, but she must put Noah's safety first. Nevertheless, Sharon will feel bad about leaving Mariah and will tell Nick how difficult everything is. Knowing that Sharon is in a difficult situation, Nick will tell her that she is a good mother. Nick will give Sharon some motivation and hold on to optimism for the future despite the concerns they are both dealing with. However, Nick and Sharon will still be troubled by all the questions surrounding Noah's crash. Given that he may have brain damage and that the guy who ran him off the road has not been apprehended, Noah is in double peril. Given that Noah may still be in danger and that he has been hiding some significant information from his parents, it is understandable why Sharon and Nick would be anxious. While they wait for any information on Noah's condition, Nick and Sharon will be thinking about a number of things. Even if Ian Ward's visit is just occurring in her head, Mariah will still be plagued by it. This version of Ian mocks her and adds to her misery. Mariah's past will come back to haunt her. When Daniel Romalotti Jr. returns to Genoa City, he will respond to the kiss that Tessa Porter just gave him. Daniel would undoubtedly put an end to this before it gets any worse because he is a decent man and wouldn't take advantage of Tessa while she is intoxicated and emotionally weak. But on Wednesday's YNR episode, Daniel will also have to make a tough decision. That might include how Daniel will respond to these developing emotions of his and what he will do after Tessa sobers up. Being near Tessa platonically is becoming more and more difficult, which may cause Daniel to feel torn because she needs him. Will Daniel choose to keep helping Tessa in spite of the difficulties or decide to put some distance between them? The halls of the Los Angeles hospital were eerily silent except for the rhythmic beeping of Noah Newman's heart monitor, a cruel reminder of how fragile life could be. Sharon Newman sat beside her son's hospital bed, her hand gently resting over his, watching his chest rise and fall with the aid of machines. She had tried to stay strong, but her composure had been crumbling piece by piece since the moment Noah's car was run off the road. Now, as the doctors kept him in an induced coma to reduce brain swelling, Sharon could no longer hide the storm raging inside her. When Nick Newman entered the room, his eyes full of pain and concern, Sharon knew she had to confess everything she'd been holding in. Tears welled in her eyes as she told Nick, her voice trembling, "Noah doesn't just have one problem, Nick, he has two." Nick froze, his brow furrowing as he tried to make sense of what Sharon meant. She took a shaky breath and explained that the physical injuries were only half the battle. The doctors feared potential brain damage, but there was also something deeper, a secret Noah had been keeping from them before the crash. Sharon had found fragments of it in his messages, hints that he had been in trouble long before the accident happened. Something or someone had been tormenting him, and Sharon feared that whoever ran him off the road might not have done it by accident. Nick clenched his jaw, anger flashing in his eyes. "If someone did this to our son on purpose, I swear I'll find out who," he muttered. But Sharon's exhaustion softened his fury. She confessed that she felt powerless, torn between the hospital in Los Angeles, where Noah was fighting for his life, and the facility in Boston, where their daughter Mariah Copeland was struggling emotionally. Sharon had received troubling updates from Mariah's doctors. She wasn't eating, she wasn't sleeping, and she had started talking to herself again. The hallucinations of Ian Ward, whether real or imagined, had returned, tormenting her just like years ago when he manipulated her life. Sharon's heart ached at the thought that both of her children were in pain, yet she could only be in one place at a time. "I want to be with Mariah," Sharon whispered, her voice breaking. "She needs me so badly. But how can I leave Noah like this? Every time I close my eyes, I'm terrified he won't wake up. What kind of mother am I, Nick?" One child is losing her grip on reality, and the other might never open his eyes again. Her voice faltered, and she pressed her trembling fingers to her lips to stifle a sob. Nick moved closer, his expression softening. You're a good mother, Sharon. The best kind. You're doing everything you can. Noah and Mariah both know that, he said quietly. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently, grounding her in the moment. Right now, you need to focus on Noah's recovery. Mariah has people looking out for her, Kevin, Tessa, the staff at the Boston Center. You being here doesn't mean you've abandoned her. It means you're fighting for your son. Despite his comforting words, Sharon's guilt gnawed at her. She remembered the countless nights when Mariah begged her not to send her away for treatment, when she promised that she'd be okay. But she wasn't okay. And now, miles away, Sharon could only pray that Mariah wouldn't spiral further. The guilt made her chest tighten as she looked back at Noah's pale face. He had been so strong, so full of promise, the one she thought she didn't have to worry about. But now, everything was uncertain. Nick tried to steer the conversation toward hope. The doctor said the swelling is going down, he reminded her gently. That's a good sign. We just have to hang on. Noah's a fighter, he gets that from you. Sharon managed a faint smile through her tears, but deep down, her fear refused to fade. She could feel that something wasn't right. The police still hadn't caught the man who ran Noah off the road. And worse, they hinted that Noah's crash might not have been random, that he had been deliberately targeted. As the weight of Nick's hand in hers steadied her, Sharon told him about the strange messages she'd seen on Noah's phone before the crash, encrypted texts, meeting reminders, and an unfinished draft that simply said, "If anything happens to me, don't trust them." She hadn't been able to bring herself to show it to the police yet. She didn't know who them referred to, friends, business associates, or someone darker. Nick's expression hardened. We need to find out what Noah was mixed up in, he said firmly. He's been keeping things from us, Sharon. Maybe he was in trouble and didn't want us to worry. Sharon nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. He thought he was protecting us, she whispered. But now, I don't even know what he was protecting us from. Nick wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close as she broke down again. He whispered reassurances, but his own heart was racing. The thought of losing Noah, their first child, the bridge that always connected them no matter how far apart they drifted, was unbearable. In that moment, all of their past differences melted away. They weren't exes, or former lovers, or old wounds reopened. They were just parents, standing side by side in fear and love for their child. Hours passed in silence as the machines hummed around them. Sharon sat motionless, her head resting on Nick's shoulder, her eyes on the rise and fall of Noah's chest. But her mind drifted east, to Boston, to Mariah, to the dark figure haunting her daughter's fragile mind. Sharon remembered how Ian Ward had once manipulated her through fear and guilt, using Mariah as a pawn. The mere mention of his name sent shivers down her spine. Now, Mariah's doctor said she had been seeing Ian again, talking to him, arguing with him. Sharon knew it was impossible, Ian Ward was dead, but in Mariah's mind, he was alive and tormenting her. Meanwhile, in Genoa City, Daniel Romolotti Jr. was wrestling with his own set of emotional complications. The fallout from Tessa Porter's impulsive kiss had left him reeling. He had tried to chalk it up to her intoxication and emotional fragility, but something deeper was stirring inside him. Being around Tessa, especially after all the pain she'd endured with Mariah missing and her music career unraveling, made him feel protective, maybe too protective. Daniel knew he had to set boundaries before their friendship became something else entirely. Still, Sharon couldn't help but think about how everything connected. The chain reaction of one tragedy had rippled across their entire family. Tessa, lost in guilt and confusion over Mariah, trapped in her own haunted memories, and Noah, lying unconscious in a sterile hospital room miles away. Each of them was suffering, and Sharon was the thread barely holding them together. When Nick stepped out to talk to the doctor, Sharon leaned forward and gently brushed Noah's hair back from his forehead. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart," she whispered. "I know you're fighting. I can feel it. Just come back to me. We need you." Her tears dripped onto his hospital gown, but she didn't bother to wipe them away. When Nick returned, he had a grave look on his face. The doctor had told him that while Noah's vital signs were stable, there were concerns about his brain activity. There was no way to predict when, or if, he would wake up. Sharon covered her mouth as a sob escaped her. Nick reached for her again, pulling her close as her body shook with grief. "Shoo, he's still here," Nick murmured. "Don't give up on him." But even as Nick tried to keep her strong, his own thoughts raced. He couldn't stop replaying the night of the crash in his head, the phone call, the panic, the drive to the hospital. He wanted answers. Who had done this? And why was Noah's phone missing when the police found his car? Later, when Sharon stepped outside for air, Nick lingered in the room with Noah. He looked down at his unconscious son and whispered, "Whatever you got yourself into, we'll fix it. I promise." His voice broke as he added, "Just hang on, buddy." Across the country, in a quiet Boston hospital room, Mariah sat curled up in bed, staring at the wall. In her mind, Ian Ward's voice echoed, cruel, mocking, relentless. "You thought you could escape me, didn't you?" he sneered. Mariah squeezed her eyes shut and covered her ears, trembling as she whispered, "You're not real. You're not real." But deep down, the fear was real enough to make her doubt herself. Back in Los Angeles, Sharon felt her phone buzz with a new message, a photo from the Boston facility. It showed Mariah sitting alone, looking lost and frightened. Sharon's heart shattered all over again. She turned to Nick, showing him the picture. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I can't be in two places at once. One child is slipping away physically, and the other is slipping away mentally." Nick cupped her face gently. "We'll figure this out together," he said. "You don't have to do this alone." For a long time, they just stood there, clinging to each other while the world around them continued spinning out of control. Sharon knew Nick was right, she wasn't alone. But even surrounded by support, the fear lingered. Noah was in double danger, from his fragile body and from the shadows of whatever secret he had been hiding. And Mariah was fighting her own battle against ghosts of the past. As the night deepened and the hospital lights dimmed, Sharon whispered a silent prayer, for Noah to wake up, for Mariah to heal, and for their family to somehow survive the chaos threatening to tear them apart. And while Nick held her close, his eyes never left the monitors beside Noah's bed, hoping, desperately, for any sign of movement. They both knew that the hardest part was yet to come. As dawn crept through the narrow hospital windows, a pale orange glow bathed Noah Newman's room in light, soft, almost merciful. Sharon Newman sat slumped in the armchair beside his bed, her body numb from exhaustion and her mind spiraling in circles. Every sound, every beep from the machines, every shuffle of a nurse's footsteps, made her heart race. She'd prayed through the night, but Noah still hadn't stirred. His face was peaceful, almost too peaceful, like he was caught between two worlds. And Sharon, torn between faith and fear, didn't know how to bring him back. Nick Newman returned early that morning, a paper cup of coffee in hand and a look of sleepless determination in his eyes. "I spoke to the neurologist," he said quietly, handing Sharon the cup. "They want to run another scan today, to check for swelling again. It's precautionary." His words were steady, but Sharon could hear the tremor beneath them. The kind of fear that only a parent could mask. She nodded absently, clutching the coffee but not drinking it. "Precautionary," she repeated softly, staring at Noah. "Everything's precautionary until it isn't." Nick sat across from her, his elbows on his knees, his head in his hands. The weight of the last few days was pressing down on both of them. Every minute that passed without change in Noah's condition felt heavier than the last. And on top of that, Sharon's phone had been buzzing nonstop with updates from the Boston facility. Mariah's condition was deteriorating. The staff had called again that morning, her nightmares were worsening, her episodes more frequent. She kept muttering about Ian Ward, about voices that wouldn't stop, about a sense of being watched. Sharon's heart broke anew with every message. "I don't know how much more she can take," she murmured. "She's been through so much already. Losing Delphine, the baby, Tessa's guilt, now this. And I'm not there for her. Every time she calls, she asks when I'm coming. I keep saying soon, but, her voice cracked, and she looked down, her tears blurring her vision. What if there is no soon? Nick stood, walking around the bed until he was beside her. Hey, he said softly, touching her shoulder. Don't do that. Don't start doubting yourself. You're doing everything you can. You're holding it together better than anyone could. Sharon laughed weakly through her tears. Holding it together? Nick, I'm falling apart. My daughter is hallucinating her abuser, my son might have brain damage, and I can't fix either of them. You can't fix everything, Nick said gently. You can love them. That's enough right now. For a long while, neither of them spoke. They just stood there, listening to the hum of machines and the distant sounds of the hospital waking up. Sharon finally whispered, Do you ever wonder if this is punishment? Nick blinked, startled. Punishment? For everything, she said quietly. The lies, the secrets, the mistakes we've made. Sometimes it feels like all of it comes back around. Like no matter how much we try to move on, the past keeps clawing its way back. Nick took a deep breath. You can't think like that. Bad things don't happen because we deserve them, Sharon. They just happen. And when they do, we deal with them, together. His words were meant to soothe her, but Sharon still couldn't shake the feeling that her family was trapped in some cruel cycle of pain and consequence. It wasn't just the accident or Mariah's mental spiral, it was everything that had led them there. She looked at Noah's motionless face and thought back to the last time they'd spoken, really spoken. He'd been distant, distracted, almost secretive. He told her he was fine, that his work in Los Angeles was keeping him busy. But there had been something in his voice, a tension she couldn't name at the time. Now, in hindsight, it all made sense. He had been hiding something. Something big. Nick, pacing now, seemed to be thinking the same thing. I keep going over it in my head, he said. Who could have wanted to hurt him? He's not reckless. He doesn't get into fights or run with the wrong crowd. But if someone chased him off that road, it means he was into something he shouldn't have been. Sharon's mind flashed back to the cryptic message she'd found on Noah's phone, If anything happens to me, don't trust them. It haunted her. The message had no sender, no context, no explanation, just those words, sitting in the drafts folder like a ghost. She hadn't shown it to the police yet. A part of her was afraid of what they might find if they dug too deep. Nick, she said hesitantly, I think Noah knew something. Or maybe he saw something he wasn't supposed to. I found a message on his phone before the crash. It was never sent. It said, not to trust them. I don't know who he meant. Nick's eyes narrowed. You didn't tell the cops? I was going to, Sharon said quickly. But I wanted to wait, to understand first. What if it's someone he worked with? Someone from his art gallery connections? Or worse, what if it's something tied to Genoa City? Nick rubbed his temples, frustration flickering across his face. You can't keep something like that to yourself, Sharon. If someone targeted him, we need to know who. You think I want the police digging through our family's business? No. But if it means keeping Noah safe, I'll deal with it. She nodded, ashamed. I'll tell them today. The tension between them lingered, but Nick didn't press further. Instead, he moved closer to Noah's bed, staring at his son's pale face. You know, he said quietly, I keep thinking about when he was little. He used to sneak into our bed whenever there was a thunderstorm. Said the noise scared him, but he'd always tell me to check the closet first, to make sure no monsters were hiding there. He laughed softly, a sad smile flickering on his lips. Now I wish all we had to worry about were monsters in the closet.